I'm not homeless, I'm very rich and wanted to test you. You passed. She said the city never slept, not really. Neon lights reflected off glass towers that seemed to stretch endlessly into the sky, and the hum of flying vehicles filled the air like a constant, mechanical heartbeat. The streets below were alive with movement, people rushing in and out of shops, vendors calling out in multiple languages, and robots gliding silently between the crowds. It was a city of extremes, where wealth and poverty coexisted within a single block, and the line between who belonged and who didn't was razor-thin. Eli walked through the crowded streets, hands shoved into his jacket pockets. He kept his eyes low, watching the cracks in the pavement, the flickering hollow signs, and the occasional discarded gadget lying in the gutter. Life had taught him caution. At 26, he was no stranger to the harsh realities of the lower sectors. Money was never guaranteed, and opportunities were rare. But Eli had something most people didn't: a mind that worked in overdrive, a knack for solving problems, and the kind of patience that only came from learning to wait for the right moment. He paused at a busy intersection, waiting for the signal to change. That's when he saw her. She was sitting on a simple wooden bench near the side of the street, her legs crossed, back straight, and shoulders relaxed. Her clothing was ragged, patched in multiple places, but it fit her oddly well, as though she had chosen it carefully to appear broken while remaining poised. Her hair, dark and long, fell loosely over her shoulders, catching the neon reflections like strands of ink. But what struck Eli most was her eyes, calm, intelligent, and somehow assessing him from across the crowded intersection. Something about her didn't feel right. "Excuse me," he said softly as he approached, unsure why he was drawn to her. Most people ignored the homeless, or worse, tried to take advantage of them, but something told Eli she was different. "Hello," she replied, her voice even and melodic. She didn't smile, but she didn't frown either. It was a neutral expression, yet it carried authority. "I have a test for you." Eli blinked, startled. A test? From her? He glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out and yell, "Gotcha," but the street remained busy, indifferent to their exchange. "I'm sorry," he asked, unsure if he'd heard her correctly. "I want to see if you are capable," she said simply. "If you pass, it could change your life. If not—" She let the sentence hang, but her eyes didn't waver. Eli hesitated. It was easy to assume she was playing a trick, another scam. But there was no desperation in her voice, no pleading or fear, just certainty. Curiosity pricked at him. He had always been drawn to puzzles, challenges, things that made him think beyond the usual. "All right," he said cautiously. "What's the test?" She reached into a small, worn satchel beside her and pulled out a cube, no larger than a fist. Its surface was smooth, metallic, and etched with tiny symbols that shifted slightly as he stared. "This is the first test," she said. "Solve it." Eli took the cube in his hands, feeling its weight and the faint hum beneath his fingers. It was like nothing he had ever touched. The symbols seemed to move when he focused on them, almost as if they were alive. He rotated the cube, observing patterns, trying to discern a logic. He could feel a thrill rising in his chest. This was exactly the kind of challenge he loved. Minutes passed. People hurried by, indifferent to the silent struggle taking place on the bench. Eli ignored them, his mind entirely focused on the shifting symbols. Slowly, he began to see a sequence, a pattern hidden within the movement of the shapes. He pressed, twisted, and aligned sections of the cube, feeling a click with each correct placement. Finally, with a last careful adjustment, the cube fell into place, locking with a satisfying metallic snap. The symbols glowed briefly and then stabilized into a static, symmetrical design. Selene tilted her head slightly, watching him with calm approval. "Impressive," she said simply. "Not everyone can do that on the first try." Eli exhaled, a mix of relief and exhilaration flooding through him. I didn't even know what I was supposed to do at first," he admitted. "Most people give up before they even begin," she said, standing. She brushed off her patched clothing as though it were nothing, though there was a subtle elegance in her movements. "But you have curiosity, patience, and focus. That is what I am looking for." He laughed nervously. "So, is this some kind of game?" She smiled faintly, the first real expression she had shown. "No, this is an opportunity, one that comes to very few." Eli frowned. "An opportunity for what?" "That depends on you," she said. "If you pass all my tests, you will see a world most people only dream about. A world where your skills, your ingenuity, can make a real difference. If you fail, well, you will continue your life as it is now, and nothing will have changed." He studied her. She was dressed like a homeless person, sitting on a broken bench, yet she spoke with the confidence of someone who controlled empires. Something about her felt impossible. "You're not homeless," he said finally, a statement rather than a question. Her eyes sparkled with amusement. "Very perceptive. No, I am not, but appearances can teach you more than comfort ever will. That is part of the test." Eli felt a shiver run down his spine. This was unlike anything he had ever encountered. Most people in his world were either struggling to survive or chasing wealth blindly. Here was someone who had both and chose to test others for reasons he didn't yet understand. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you have potential." Most people do not see opportunity when it stands before them. Most people are distracted by survival, by greed, by fear. You are different. He laughed softly, shaking his head. "Different? I'm just trying to live. I barely make enough to pay rent and eat." "And that is precisely why I chose you," she said. "The world is full of people who are already comfortable. But someone like you, someone who is willing to think, to adapt, to solve, can truly rise to the challenge." They sat in silence for a moment, the city moving around them, oblivious to the conversation. Eli could feel a strange energy in the air, a tension that was part curiosity, part fear, and part excitement. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll do it, whatever it is." "Good," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But know this, the tests are not easy. You will be challenged in ways you cannot yet imagine. And sometimes the answer will not be obvious. You must trust your mind, your instincts, and your humanity." Eli nodded, a mix of determination and unease settling in his chest. He had always relied on his intelligence, his ability to think outside the box, but the weight of this unknown challenge felt different. This was not a simple puzzle or problem. It was something greater, something that could change everything. The first test had been a cube, simple enough to hold but impossible to solve without focus, patience, and ingenuity. He wondered what came next. Whatever it was, he knew one thing for certain. He had passed the first step, and that small victory gave him a thrill unlike any he had ever felt. Selene stood, brushing off her satchel. "Come with me," she said. "The next test is not something you can solve with hands alone. It will require your mind, your intuition, and your courage." Eli followed, curiosity burning in his chest. He didn't know what awaited him, but he had a strange sense of trust in her. Somehow, he believed that these tests were not arbitrary, that they were designed for something bigger than himself, something that could shape the future. As they walked, the neon lights reflected off the wet streets, casting long, colorful shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly before them. Eli felt as though he had stepped into a world parallel to the one he knew, a world hidden beneath the surface of the city, waiting for those who were capable, brave, and clever enough to find it. And for the first time in his life, he felt that he might just belong to something greater. Eli followed Selene through the twisting alleys of the city. At first, he thought they were simply moving through backstreets, places where people rarely ventured. But soon the walls began to change. The graffiti faded into smooth metal panels, and the air grew cooler, almost sterile. Humming lights glowed faintly above, reflecting off the polished surfaces, and the sounds of the busy streets behind them disappeared. Where are we going?" Eli asked, his voice low. Selene didn't answer immediately. Instead, she walked with purpose, as though the path was familiar to her in a way that went beyond knowing the streets. "Patience," she said finally. "All will be revealed soon." Eli glanced around. The city had always seemed enormous, but this hidden path made it feel infinite. Every turn they took revealed new technology, screens floating in midair, devices that hovered and moved without visible motors, and panels that lit up when touched. It was like stepping into a world he had only ever imagined in his dreams. After several minutes, they reached a large steel door, nearly invisible except for the faint outlines of symbols etched into its surface. Selene pressed her hand against a glowing panel, and the door slid open silently, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Eli stepped inside, eyes widening. The room was enormous, filled with machines he couldn't begin to name, screens displaying complex patterns, and robotic arms moving with precise, graceful motions. In the center, a large circular platform glowed softly, almost invitingly. The air hummed with energy, but it was not oppressive. Instead, it carried a sense of purpose, of intention. "Welcome to the hidden world," Selene said. "This is where true potential is tested and nurtured. Very few people have ever seen this place." and fewer still have the ability to understand it. Eli took a cautious step forward. This is incredible. How is this even possible? Selene smiled faintly. Possible, for most people it is not, but for someone like you it is a challenge, one you may choose to accept. She led him to a console filled with holographic displays, each showing complex diagrams, streams of data, and patterns that shifted continuously. This is your second test, she said. It is not about speed or strength. It is about understanding, adaptation, and creation. Can you repair what has been damaged? Eli frowned. Repair what? She pointed to a hovering holographic projection of a small robot, clearly malfunctioning. Its limbs jittered uncontrollably and sparks flickered from its joints. This AI unit is critical for one of our operations. Without it, an important system will fail. I want you to fix it. He hesitated, looking at the complex data surrounding the robot. It seemed impossible at first glance. Code running in patterns he didn't fully recognize, circuitry diagrams that looked alien, and systems that were far beyond any repair he had attempted in his life. Selene watched him silently. You may use your mind, your intuition, your ingenuity, but you must succeed. Time is limited. Eli swallowed hard, his hands itching to get to work. He began examining the robot, analyzing its movements and trying to detect the root of the problem. The limbs were jerky, the energy distribution uneven, and the programming seemed corrupted. He felt a familiar thrill, the kind that always came when a problem appeared unsolvable at first glance. Hours passed, though the city outside had long moved on with its busy day. Eli worked tirelessly, testing circuits, analyzing data streams, and writing code that corrected the AI's behavior. He made mistakes, of course. Sparks flew from the robot's joints more than once, and one incorrect command caused it to spin uncontrollably before shutting down entirely. But he kept going, learning from every failure, observing patterns he had never noticed before, adapting and creating solutions on the fly. Selene observed quietly, her expression unreadable. She said nothing, letting Eli struggle, fail, and eventually succeed on his own. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the robot moved smoothly for the first time in days. Its limbs adjusted with perfect precision, sensors flicking on and off in flawless sequence. It paused, then extended a small arm toward Eli as if acknowledging his achievement. Eli leaned back, wiping sweat from his brow, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration flooding through him. I did it, he whispered. Selene nodded. Yes, you did, and you did more than repair a machine. You demonstrated something most people lack: patience, creativity, and the courage to keep going even when the solution is unclear. These qualities will be far more important than your skills alone. He looked at her, still catching his breath. Why are you doing this? Why go through all this trouble? She walked closer, her gaze steady. Because the world is full of people who are clever, yes, but not willing to use their minds to create or protect. People who would take without understanding, who would exploit what they do not respect. I am looking for those who can rise above that, those who can think, adapt, and act when it matters most. Eli's mind raced. Her words carried weight. They were not just about machines or tests. They were about judgment, about understanding what it meant to use one's abilities for something greater than personal gain. Do you really believe I am that person? He asked cautiously. Selene's lips curved into the faintest smile. I do, but belief is not enough. You must show it, and the next test will challenge you in ways you cannot yet imagine. It will demand courage, intuition, and morality. Are you ready for that? Eli nodded more confidently now. I will try. Good, she said. Follow me. They moved through the hidden laboratory, and Eli noticed something extraordinary. Others were there too, but not many. A few individuals, quietly observing or working on various projects, each deeply absorbed in tasks that required intellect, focus, and discipline. None spoke unless spoken to. Each seemed to be part of a carefully curated group, chosen for qualities that went beyond ordinary human skill. This place, it's incredible, Eli said. How have I never heard of it? Because it is hidden, Selene replied. What is hidden is often protected, and what is protected is reserved for those who are ready. You are ready, or at least you will be if you succeed in what comes next. Eli followed her to a large chamber with a high ceiling, walls lined with screens showing simulations of the city. On a central console, a holographic representation of a complex network pulsed, each node connected to another in precise geometric patterns. This, Selene said, is the trial of courage. The megacorporation that dominates much of the city's technology has found a weakness. They aim to exploit it to gain control over systems critical to the survival and advancement of humanity. Your task is simple in description, but not in execution. You must navigate this network, identify their plan, and prevent the collapse before it happens. Eli stared at the intricate network. At first, it was overwhelming. The lines moved rapidly, nodes flickering, pathways forming and dissolving like living veins of data. He felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The stakes were higher than anything he had faced before. Failure could mean disaster. Success could mean saving countless lives and proving that humans were capable of rising above mere survival. He took a deep breath and placed his hands over the console. His mind raced, analyzing patterns, detecting anomalies, and predicting outcomes. It was not just about intelligence, it was about intuition, adaptability, and a willingness to act decisively when necessary. Hours passed. Eli lost track of time, moving with determination and focus. Every decision mattered. A wrong choice could cascade through the network, causing failures he could not repair. Yet with each challenge, he adapted, learning from every error, applying human creativity and insight where logic alone failed. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the network stabilized. The megacorporation's plans were neutralized, the threat removed, and the systems Eli had worked to protect hummed smoothly once more. He leaned back, exhausted but triumphant. Selene observed silently, her expression calm but proud. "You have done well," she said. "This trial is not just about intelligence or skill. It is about courage, morality, and the willingness to act for the greater good, and you have proven all three." Eli exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and awe filling him. He realized that this hidden world, these tests, were about more than him. They were about humanity. About proving that humans, with all their flaws, could rise to challenges that no machine or algorithm could handle alone. Selene stepped closer, her gaze steady. "Do you understand now why appearances can deceive?" Eli nodded slowly. "Yes, you are not what you seem. And neither is this world. But I see now that what matters is what we can do, not what we look like." She smiled faintly. "Exactly, and you have the potential to do far more than you imagine, but the greatest challenges are yet to come. Are you ready to continue?" Eli stood taller, determination settling in his chest. "I am, whatever it takes." Selene nodded approvingly. "Good, then the next stage awaits, and it will test not just your mind, but your heart." Eli followed her deeper into the hidden world, ready for whatever awaited, feeling a strange mix of fear, excitement, and purpose. For the first time, he understood that life could be more than survival. It could be a test of ingenuity, courage, and humanity. And he was determined to pass. Eli followed Selene through a narrow corridor that twisted and turned deeper into the hidden facility. The air was cooler here, and the faint hum of machinery seemed to vibrate in his chest. Every step felt heavy with anticipation. He had already faced 2 tests, each more challenging than the last, but Selene's calm demeanor suggested that the true trial had not yet begun. They reached a large room, circular and high-ceilinged, with walls covered in holographic displays. The center of the room held a raised platform, glowing softly with a warm light. On the platform was a holographic representation of the city, streets, buildings, and entire districts rendered in fine, moving detail. Lines of light connected various locations, pulsing like arteries, showing the flow of energy, information, and movement. "This," Selene said, "is the trial of courage. It is not enough to be clever or skilled. The next test will challenge your judgment, your intuition, and your willingness to act for something greater than yourself." Eli stepped closer, scanning the holographic city. "What exactly do I need to do?" he asked. Selene's eyes met his, steady and unwavering. "A powerful organization plans to take control of critical systems that affect millions. If they succeed, the city will collapse into chaos. Your task is to stop them, not through force, but through understanding and decisive action. You must navigate this virtual representation, identify the threat, and neutralize it." Eli felt a wave of unease. He had repaired machines before, but this was different. Lives were at stake, and the systems were far more complex than anything he had worked with. He could see the paths of energy flowing through the city, the nodes representing power plants, communication hubs, transportation systems, and more. The lines of light moved constantly, shifting as if alive, reacting to changes in real time. Scifi handed him a small, sleek device that fit in his hands like a glove. This interface will allow you to interact with the simulation, but remember, every choice has consequences. Think carefully, trust your instincts, and be prepared to adapt. Eli nodded, swallowing hard. He had always been good at analyzing problems, but the stakes had never been this high. He placed his hands on the interface, feeling the hum of energy beneath his fingertips. The holographic city responded immediately to his touch, and he could sense the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The simulation began. Lines of light flickered rapidly, nodes pulsed erratically, and alerts appeared across the virtual city. Eli studied the patterns, searching for anomalies that indicated interference. He noticed a series of energy spikes in one district, a power grid being manipulated in ways that could trigger a cascading failure. He focused, analyzing the flow, predicting outcomes, and testing small adjustments. Each time he tried a solution, he observed the results, learning from mistakes and refining his approach. Some nodes resisted his changes, behaving unpredictably as if testing him in return. Hours passed. Eli lost track of time, fully absorbed in the simulation. He felt the tension in his chest tighten, but he pushed forward, using logic, intuition, and creativity to counteract the disruptions. Slowly, he began to stabilize sections of the city, redirecting energy flows, balancing systems, and neutralizing threats. Scifi watched silently from the side, her expression calm but attentive. She did not offer guidance or interference, letting Eli face the challenge entirely on his own. Finally, he reached the critical point, a central hub where all systems converged. It was heavily compromised, with multiple threats interacting simultaneously. Eli took a deep breath, knowing that one wrong move could unravel everything he had accomplished. He studied the hub, tracing each connection, and noticed a subtle pattern hidden within the chaos, a sequence that indicated the organization's ultimate plan. Eli's mind raced. He realized that brute force or simple corrections would not work. He had to anticipate their moves, outthink them, and act decisively. Using the interface, he carefully implemented a series of changes that neutralized the threats and restored balance. The city's system stabilized, energy flows returned to normal, and the virtual city pulsed steadily with life. He leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. He had done it. He had prevented the collapse, and in doing so, he had demonstrated courage, judgment, and the ability to act under pressure. Scifi approached, her expression unreadable. "You have done well," she said finally. "This trial was not just about skill. It was about courage, about choosing to act when the consequences are great and the outcome uncertain. You have proven yourself." Eli exhaled, a mix of relief and awe flooding through him. I didn't know if I could do it," he admitted. "It was overwhelming," Scifi nodded. "Most would have given up long before reaching this point, but you did not. You persisted, you adapted, and most importantly, you acted for the greater good rather than personal gain. That is what separates the capable from the exceptional." Eli studied her, feeling a strange sense of respect and curiosity. "And what happens now?" he asked. Scifi's eyes glimmered. "Now you understand the importance of humanity's unique qualities, our courage, our creativity, and our morality. The final test will challenge these qualities even further, but in ways you cannot yet imagine. Are you prepared to continue?" Eli nodded, determination settling in his chest. "I am, whatever it takes." She led him to a smaller chamber, quieter and less illuminated. The walls were lined with screens displaying historical events, simulations of possible futures, and data from countless systems across the world. In the center, a simple table held a device that resembled a small tablet, but its surface shimmered with shifting patterns. "This is your final trial in this stage," Scifi explained. "It is not about knowledge or skill alone. It is about choice, ethics, and the willingness to act for what is right. The scenario you will face is designed to reveal your character, your priorities, and your understanding of responsibility." Eli picked up the device carefully. As he did, a holographic projection appeared, showing a scenario in vivid detail. A crisis unfolding in a distant city district, with multiple paths he could take to intervene. Each choice had consequences, some immediate, some far-reaching, and not all outcomes were predictable. He realized that this trial would test him in ways he had not experienced before. He could not simply calculate the solution or apply logic. He had to consider ethics, empathy, and the long-term impact of his actions. Eli studied the projection, weighing options, predicting consequences, and considering the welfare of countless people he had never met. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a strange sense of clarity. The path forward required him to trust his judgment, his values, and his ability to act decisively under pressure. Minutes turned into hours as he made choices, tested outcomes, and adjusted his approach. Each decision carried weight, and each success built confidence. He realized that the trial was not just about solving problems. It was about demonstrating the qualities that made humans exceptional: empathy, courage, adaptability, and the capacity for moral judgment. Finally, he completed the scenario. The projection stabilized, showing that the crisis had been averted and the systems balanced. Eli leaned back, exhausted but fulfilled. He had passed the trial not through brute force or knowledge alone, but through the qualities that defined him as human. Selene observed him silently, then smiled faintly. "You have done more than I expected," she said. "You have demonstrated not only skill and courage, but also the wisdom and character necessary to face challenges that others cannot. You are ready for what comes next." Eli felt a mix of relief, pride, and anticipation. He had faced trials that tested his mind, his courage, and his judgment, and he had succeeded. But he knew that the journey was far from over. The hidden world, the tests, and Selene's guidance were only the beginning. He looked at her determination burning in his eyes. "I will continue," he said. "Whatever the next challenge is, I am ready." Selene nodded approvingly. "Good. The next stage will reveal more about the world you live in, the forces at play, and the role you can play in shaping the future. But for now, take pride in what you have accomplished. You have proven that humanity, our courage, creativity, and morality, can overcome even the most complex challenges." Eli nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. The hidden world was no longer just a place of tests and puzzles. It was a place where his abilities, his values, and his determination could make a real difference. As he followed Selene deeper into the facility, he understood something fundamental. The trials were not just about passing tests. They were about becoming the kind of human who could rise to challenges that no machine or algorithm could ever match. And that realization filled him with a quiet, unshakable confidence. For the first time, Eli felt that he was not just surviving. He was preparing to shape the future. Eli followed Selene through a long hallway, the glow from overhead lights reflecting softly on the polished floor. He could feel the weight of what he had just accomplished in the trial of courage still pressing on his chest. The experience had tested his mind, his judgment, and his ability to act for the greater good. But Selene's calm presence suggested that even greater challenges awaited him. They reached a massive room, its walls lined with monitors displaying distant cities, laboratories, and spacecraft moving silently through orbit. The air was charged with a subtle energy, not uncomfortable but powerful in its presence. Eli felt a sense of awe. This place was clearly a hub of resources, knowledge, and influence far beyond anything he had ever imagined. Selene stopped near the center of the room. "Before we continue," she said, her voice steady, "you need to understand who I am and why you have been tested." Eli frowned. "I thought I already knew. You are rich, powerful, testing people to see who is worthy." Selene shook her head gently. "There is more to it than that. I am wealthy, yes, but not for selfish reasons. I have built this world in secret to protect and guide humanity. My mission is to prepare humans to face challenges that they are not yet aware exist, threats that could endanger our survival if we are not ready." Eli's mind raced. "Survival, threats, what kind of threats?" Selene's gaze met his, calm but serious. "The universe is vast, and the challenges humanity will face extend far beyond the city, beyond Earth itself. Resource conflicts, environmental disasters, and even advanced technologies falling into the wrong hands can create situations beyond the control of ordinary governments or corporations. I have created these tests to find humans who are capable of thinking beyond themselves, humans who can act wisely and decisively when the stakes are highest." Eli felt a mixture of disbelief and awe. He had always believed that intelligence and resourcefulness mattered, but the scale of what Selene described was almost unimaginable, and yet the clarity in her voice made him believe her. "You chose me," he said slowly. "Why me?" "Because you have qualities most people lack," she said simply. Curiosity, patience, courage, and moral judgment. You are not motivated by wealth or status alone. You seek to understand, to create, and to act rightly. That is rare. Most people are distracted by comfort or ambition, or they lack the vision to see beyond their immediate surroundings. You have potential, and potential must be tested to grow. Eli nodded, feeling a strange sense of purpose settling in his chest. He had survived the first tests, but he now realized that they were designed not just to challenge his skills, but to reveal his character. Selene gestured to a large console in the center of the room. On it was a projection of a distant city district, glowing with activity. This is your next challenge. It will test your moral judgment, your priorities, and your willingness to act for the greater good rather than for yourself. A crisis is unfolding. You will be faced with choices that will affect the lives of thousands. Eli leaned forward, studying the projection. He could see the streets filled with people, energy grids flickering, and infrastructure that appeared vulnerable to collapse. The simulation was detailed and complex, presenting multiple paths of action, each with consequences he had to predict and manage. Selene's voice was calm but firm. This is not about speed or skill alone. It is about ethics. Some choices will seem easier but may harm others. Some will be harder but will protect more people. You must choose wisely, even if it comes at a personal cost. Eli felt a surge of anxiety. He had faced challenges before, but none that weighed on his conscience in this way. He realized that this trial would reveal who he truly was, not just as a thinker or problem solver, but as a human being. He began analyzing the situation carefully. One path offered quick results but would leave certain vulnerable areas exposed. Another required more time and effort but would ensure the safety of more people. Eli weighed each option, considering immediate consequences and long-term effects. Hours passed as he tested different strategies, adjusted his plans, and predicted outcomes. He experienced moments of doubt and fear, but he pressed on, guided by a growing sense of responsibility. The simulation forced him to consider not just efficiency, but fairness, empathy, and morality. Every choice mattered. Selene watched quietly, her expression calm. She offered no guidance, allowing Eli to confront the consequences of his decisions fully. She wanted him to understand the weight of responsibility, the importance of moral judgment, and the impact of human actions on the lives of others. Finally, after long hours of careful planning and decisive action, Eli stabilized the simulation. The crisis was averted, the systems balanced, and the people within the projection safe. He leaned back, exhausted but triumphant, realizing that this trial had tested far more than his mind. It had tested his heart. Selene approached, her eyes reflecting pride and satisfaction. "You have done well," she said. Most would have chosen the easier path, the path that benefits themselves or avoids difficult decisions. You chose wisely, considering the greater good. You acted with courage, empathy, and integrity. Eli exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of relief and accomplishment. I didn't know if I could do it," he admitted. "It was overwhelming," Selene nodded. "That is the point. True challenges are never simple. They are designed to reveal your character, your priorities, and your ability to act under pressure. You have proven yourself capable." Eli looked around, taking in the room, the technology, and the magnitude of what he had just accomplished. For the first time, he realized that his potential was not limited to small struggles or personal survival. He could impact the lives of countless people, protect systems critical to humanity, and contribute to something far greater than himself. Selene's voice broke his thoughts. "Now you understand why appearances can be deceiving. I may seem like a simple, ragged woman to most, but appearances hide purpose, power, and knowledge. And now you understand that humans themselves often have hidden potential, potential that can rise to challenges no machine or algorithm can overcome." Eli nodded slowly. "I see that now, and I want to continue, whatever it takes." Selene's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. "Good. The final stage will reveal more about the world, the threats we face, and the role you can play, but it will also test you in a personal way. You must confront not just external challenges, but your own values, choices, and understanding of responsibility." Eli felt a strange mixture of anticipation and nervousness. He had passed the previous trials, demonstrating skill, courage, and judgment. But the thought of a test that challenged his morality and priorities made his heart race. He knew that this stage would demand more than intellect. It would demand self-reflection, ethical reasoning, and the willingness to act in alignment with his principles. Scifi led him to a chamber at the edge of the facility. It was quiet, almost serene, with soft lights reflecting on smooth walls. In the center, a projection appeared, a vast landscape showing both the city and distant regions affected by human activity. Natural disasters, technological failures, and social unrest were all represented in detail, each with cascading consequences depending on the choices made within the simulation. "This is your ultimate moral trial," Scifi explained. "The decisions you make here will demonstrate your priorities and understanding of responsibility. It is not enough to act for yourself or to seek recognition. You must act for the well-being of humanity, even if it comes at a personal cost." Eli took a deep breath. The magnitude of the challenge was clear. He studied the projection carefully, analyzing the complex interactions and consequences of each potential action. He realized that every decision would ripple outward, affecting countless lives, infrastructure, and resources. The weight of responsibility pressed on him, but it also clarified his purpose. He began making choices, testing outcomes, and adjusting his approach. Some paths were tempting because they were easier or safer, but Eli knew that the right choice often required sacrifice, effort, and consideration of the greater good. He acted decisively, guided by his growing understanding of responsibility, empathy, and ethics. Hours passed, and Eli experienced moments of doubt, fear, and even frustration. But he persisted, learning from each choice and predicting the consequences of every action. Slowly, the projection stabilized. The crises were mitigated, systems balanced, and human lives preserved. Eli had succeeded, not just through skill or intelligence, but through moral reasoning, courage, and empathy. Scifi observed him silently, then spoke. "You have done more than I expected. You have demonstrated not only skill and courage, but also integrity, wisdom, and the willingness to act for the greater good. You are ready for the final revelations and the responsibilities that come with them." Eli felt a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. The trials had tested him in every way possible: his intellect, his courage, and his moral judgment. He understood now that true human strength was not measured in skill or wealth, but in character, integrity, and the ability to act wisely and selflessly. Scifi smiled, her eyes reflecting approval and anticipation. "The world you see, the challenges you have faced, and the choices you have made are only the beginning. You have proven that humanity, its courage, creativity, and moral strength, can rise to meet any challenge. And now the true purpose of your tests will be revealed." Eli nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and determination. He had faced trials that tested every part of him, and he had passed, but he knew that the journey was not over. The final stage awaited, promising revelations, challenges, and the opportunity to shape the future of humanity itself. As he followed Scifi deeper into the facility, he understood something fundamental. The tests were not about proving skill alone. They were about revealing potential, character, and humanity's capacity to rise above challenges that no machine or algorithm could ever solve. And he was ready to embrace it. For the first time, Eli felt not just capable, but necessary. He had passed the trials that tested skill, courage, and morality. And now he was prepared to discover the true purpose behind Scifi's hidden world. Eli followed Scifi through the final corridor of the hidden facility. The air felt lighter here, almost electric with anticipation, as if the walls themselves pulsed with expectation. He had passed the trials of intelligence, courage, and morality, and now he could feel that something extraordinary awaited him. This was the final stage, the culmination of everything he had learned and experienced. They entered a vast chamber with a ceiling that disappeared into shadow. In the center, a platform glowed softly, surrounded by screens and holographic projections that displayed cities, landscapes, and even outer space. Scifi gestured for him to step onto the platform. "This," she said, "is where your journey becomes reality. You have proven that humans are capable of ingenuity, courage, and moral judgment. But now you must put all of these qualities together in action, not in simulation, not in puzzles, but in the real world." Eli's heart raced. He had faced incredible challenges in the simulated trials, but now he sensed the stakes were higher, more tangible. He could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, yet it was not fear that filled him, it was purpose. He had passed the tests, but he was beginning to understand that this was only the beginning. Selene smiled, a hint of pride in her eyes. A corrupt organization seeks to control critical systems across multiple cities. Their plan will cause chaos, suffering, and instability if not stopped. You have the skills, the courage, and the moral understanding to prevent this. Your task is simple to describe but difficult to achieve. Lead the mission that ensures humanity retains control of its destiny. Eli nodded, determination settling in his chest. I understand, but how do we start? Selene guided him to a console that controlled a network of drones, automated systems, and communication channels. You will coordinate with teams in the field, monitor systems from here, and make decisions that can prevent disasters before they happen. The real test is applying everything you have learned, the intelligence, courage, and ethics, to protect people and systems that depend on human judgment. Eli placed his hands on the interface, feeling the hum of technology beneath his fingertips. Screens lit up with live data from across the city, showing power grids, transportation networks, hospitals, and emergency response systems. Each line of light represented connections, energy flows, and activity, and each required careful observation and decision-making. The first alerts came quickly. A power grid in one district was under threat of collapse, and automated systems were malfunctioning. Eli analyzed the situation, recalling lessons from the previous trials. He carefully redirected energy flows, stabilized circuits, and communicated instructions to technicians on the ground. Every decision mattered. Every choice could prevent or cause disaster. Hours passed, but Eli did not notice. He was completely absorbed, moving with confidence and precision. The problems were complex and intertwined, but he approached each with the patience, creativity, and courage he had honed through Selene's tests. At times, he had to make split-second decisions, weighing the consequences of each action on countless lives. Selene observed silently, giving him space to act. She had designed these challenges not to control him, but to allow his qualities to emerge fully, and emerge they did. Eli demonstrated human ingenuity in ways no algorithm could match. He adapted to unexpected failures, improvised solutions when conventional methods failed, and kept the welfare of the people as his top priority. The mission escalated. Multiple threats emerged simultaneously: a malfunctioning transportation hub, a communication blackout affecting emergency services, and a data breach targeting critical infrastructure. Eli prioritized, delegated, and coordinated, moving seamlessly between crises. His mind worked like a finely tuned machine, but it was fueled not by programming alone. It was powered by human intuition, courage, and empathy. At one point, a critical decision arose. A failing energy node could be sacrificed to save a hospital district, or vice versa. Eli paused, heart pounding. He knew that whichever choice he made would have consequences, yet he relied on his moral compass, honed through Selene's previous tests. He redirected the energy to protect the most vulnerable population, knowing that the other systems could be stabilized later. Moments of doubt crept in, but he pushed them aside. He had learned that hesitation could cost lives. He trusted his judgment, his humanity, and the knowledge that he had gained through every trial. As the night progressed, the threats began to subside. Systems stabilized, cities returned to normal operations, and the chaos that the corrupt organization had hoped to create was prevented. Eli leaned back, exhausted but triumphant, realizing that human ingenuity, courage, and morality had prevailed. Machines and algorithms were powerful tools, but they could not replace the judgment and adaptability of a thoughtful, courageous human being. Selene stepped forward, her eyes reflecting pride and satisfaction. "You have done it," she said. "Not through luck, not through raw power, but through qualities that define humanity: intelligence, creativity, courage, and moral judgment. You have proven that humans can overcome challenges that no machine or organization can dominate. You have passed the final stage." Eli exhaled, relief and pride washing over him. I can't believe it," he said softly. "It feels like everything I've learned, everything I've experienced has led to this moment, and we actually did it." Selene nodded. "Yes, you did it. And more than that, you have shown that humans are capable of rising to the greatest challenges, not through selfish ambition or force, but through integrity, courage, and ingenuity. That is the true power of humanity." Eli looked at the holographic city before him, lights twinkling, systems stable, and lives safe. He felt a profound sense of connection to the people he had protected, the systems he had stabilized, and the responsibility he had upheld. For the first time, he understood the full scope of his potential, not as a single individual but as part of humanity itself. Selene smiled faintly. "There is one last thing you must understand. I am not rich for personal gain. My wealth, my influence, and this hidden world exist to prepare humans to face challenges they are not yet aware of. You have seen the potential within yourself and within humanity. You have proven that when humans work together, guided by intelligence, courage, and ethics, we can overcome threats that seem insurmountable." Eli nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of her words. He realized that his journey had been more than a series of tests. It had been a preparation, a training of the mind, heart, and spirit. And he felt a sense of purpose that went beyond personal success or recognition. "You passed every test," Selene continued. "But the true lesson is this. Humans are capable of far more than they often believe. Our potential is not limited to survival or personal gain. We can rise to challenges, create solutions, and protect each other, even against overwhelming odds. That is why I tested you, and why you succeeded." Eli felt a surge of emotion. Pride, humility, and determination all intertwined within him. He had discovered strengths he had not known he possessed, faced challenges that tested his mind and heart, and emerged ready to make a real difference. Selene placed a hand on his shoulder. "The world you have helped protect is only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more crises, and more opportunities to demonstrate what it means to be human. But now you understand what is possible when courage, creativity, and morality guide your actions." Eli looked at her, a quiet smile forming on his lips. "I understand. And I want to continue. I want to help to make a difference, to use everything I've learned to protect humanity and guide it forward." Selene nodded approvingly. "Then you are ready. You have passed not only my tests, but the ultimate test of what it means to be human. Go forward knowing that your actions, your decisions, and your integrity can shape the future. And remember, humanity itself is capable of greatness beyond imagination." Eli stood on the platform, gazing at the holographic city, the lights reflecting in his eyes. He felt a sense of connection to every person, every system, and every life that depended on human ingenuity and courage. He realized that his journey had transformed him, not just as an individual, but as a representative of the potential inherent in all humans. The facility around him seemed less mysterious now. Every test, every challenge, every trial had led to this moment, and he understood the purpose behind them all. He had been chosen not because he was perfect, but because he had the qualities that could make humanity stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Selene stepped back, letting him take in the scope of what he had accomplished. "Remember this," she said softly. "The future is not written. It is shaped by those who are willing to rise to challenges, act with courage, and make decisions guided by integrity and wisdom. You have proven that humans are capable of doing just that." Eli nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never known. He understood that this was not the end of his journey. It was the beginning of a greater purpose. The trials had prepared him, revealed his strengths, and shown him the value of courage, intelligence, and morality. He took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the facility, the hum of technology, and the weight of responsibility. And he knew that whatever challenges awaited humanity in the future, humans, creative, courageous, and morally guided, would rise to meet them. Selene's voice brought him back to the present. "You passed every stage, Eli. You have proven that humans, when guided by their best qualities, can achieve greatness. That is the essence of what I call humanity's true power." Eli smiled, a quiet confidence filling him. "I understand, and I will continue to live by that. I will act with courage, think with intelligence, and make decisions guided by morality. I will not fail humanity." Selene nodded, a look of satisfaction on her face. "Then go forward, Eli. The world awaits your actions, your choices, and your leadership. Humanity has proven itself capable, and now so have you." Eli stepped off the platform, feeling stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The hidden world, the tests, and Selene's guidance had transformed him. He understood the responsibility of his abilities, the importance of moral judgment, and the value of courage and creativity. He looked out at the city, lights twinkling under the night sky, systems stabilized, and people unaware of the crisis that had nearly occurred. A quiet sense of pride and purpose filled him. Humanity was capable of greatness, and he was ready to be part of it. As he walked alongside Selene, he knew that his life would never be the same. The tests had revealed his potential, challenged his mind and heart, and shown him the true power of humanity. And he felt ready to protect, to guide, and to rise to any challenge, knowing that human ingenuity, courage, and morality would always prevail.